Annie Turnbull Malone, real name was Annie Minerva Turnbull, and was born August 9th, 1869, in Metropolis, Illinois, to parents who were former slaves. Annie's childhood was hard, but growing up, one thing that always seemed to be able to light her spirit was styling her sister's hair, and she was really good at it. Annie started high school but didn't finish, but one of her favorite subjects was chemistry, which she put to use a few years after dropping out of high school. After she learned the importance of grooming and appearance, she used that knowledge to put her passion for hairstyling to good use, not only for herself, but for black women as well. To be clear, Annie started serving black women, not to be racist, but because during that time in the 1900s, black women had no hairstylists or tools that black women needed to care for their hair. And it was just the opposite for white women. But happily, Annie came along to share her hair care line that she had developed and started using on her sister's hair and her own. Aaron Eugene Malone was Annie's husband. They known each other in childhood, then reconnected as adults. He made a living for himself in education, first as a teacher, then later as school principal. But at the time they reconnected as adults, he was a Bible salesman. The couple was together in high school. Then in 1914, Aaron ran into Annie and rekindled the sparks and asked her to marry him. She said yes. Then a Topeka plain dealer wrote all about it. The Malone's wedding took place April 28, 1914. Annie and Aaron was described as wealthy. Aaron was described as some businessman and property owner, and Annie was described as being at the very top of her fields with a thriving business, the biggest of its kind. But when Aaron sued her for divorce in 1927, none of his property was included in the marital aspects that needed to be split, just Annie's company. Aaron said that he helped get the company off the ground, as if Annie wasn't successful before he entered the picture. Annie did her best to make sure the public believed Aaron was a successful match for her. She was covering for him. She propped him up to make it seem as if he came into a relationship with more money than she had. And later that he was the reason for the success of her pearl brand. She would come to regret this decision. She did it because she was a product of her era. In 1910s and 1920s, it was a time when men prided themselves on financially providing for their wives. For a woman's stature to marry down would have been shameful and embarrassing. She didn't want to make him look like a broke fool because it would have reflected badly on her too. Aaron was lucky, but not only Annie helped to make him look good, but the local press too. For example, in a very short story that was about Aaron according to his title, which was Malone, once teacher, now a rich manufacturer. The story went on to details how Annie made a federal income tax payment of over $38,000 for 1 year. That made her one of the largest taxpayers in the state. Adjusted for inflation, that is almost $700,000 in today's 2025 money, which proves that Annie was making some serious money in the 1920s. But the title was about Aaron going from being a teacher to a rich manufacturer. He rode her coattails and she let him until she got tired of it. Actually, until he got tired of it. But for years, this couple put on a perfect show. They were St. Louis' favorite and richest black power couple. They donated a lot of money to schools, social causes, and political leaders. Any school building provided more than just a place for her pearl women to learn her hair care system. Again, this was the 1910s and 1920s, and even though Annie and the black people in her circle had a lot of money, America was still very segregated. So if they wanted to go someplace extravagant, their skin color would prevent them from being admitted into white establishments. But all was well. Annie saw a problem and fixed it by allowing the doors of Pearl College to open for banquets and a wide range of social functions. She, as the founder, and Aaron, as the president of Pearl, were everything that any black couple could aspire to be, or that's what they thought from the outside looking in. However, truthfully, Annie was getting tired of her husband. The public just didn't know. But they would find out February 1927, when he filed to divorce her. Just her, not her money. When the times were good, they seemed to be really good. Aaron and Annie were called the leaders of the St. Louis Negro world. Business was going so well that Perot had 75,000 agents selling its product all over the globe. They were bringing in $250,000 per year. That's almost $8 million in today's money. And when the money is rolling in like that, what do? You spend it. And the Malones did. They went to Europe several times in their marriage. Sometimes it was for business to check on their operations, but often it was for pleasure. And you have to understand that traveling across the ocean was not something that people could access easily in those days, especially black people. Not only could Annie afford to take those trips, she could afford to take those trips in first class accommodation. I think this one sentence from the St. Louis Star and Times illustrates their lifestyle perfectly. Quote, they had toured Europe together and they lived in a state that most persons of any color could never attain. And he was already doing quite well before Erin came into the picture. She was earning, by today's standards, $850,000 per year. Erin did add a little value, but not anywhere near the amount he gave himself credit for. Before Madam C.J. Walker achieved national fame as a businesswoman and philanthropist, there was Annie Turnbull, also known as Annie Malone. With her Perot business empire, Malone was able to provide invaluable service and support to the Ville neighborhood, making her a leading figure in black St. Louis. Malone overcame sexism and racism to make her mark in the world of beauty products, and then used her power and influence to improve the lives of black St. Louisans. When she and her husband decided to divorce in 1927, Annie had to fight the court battle of her life to retain control over her business assets. With her victory making waves at the time as a unique case of a powerful black woman retaining her power without the control of a husband. Her ability to keep her empire after divorcing her husband, her fight to retain her rights, serves as a reminder to all to not allow yourself to be walked over or to settle for unhappiness.